At some point, there's a tipping point. At some point, we actually need to say, this is enough. If we go further, we're actually going to damage the economy more than the few extra people we're going to save. This makes people feel very, very uncomfortable because you feel like we should save everyone, but we never do. In a society, we always make trade-offs.
So global warming is real, and it's a problem.
Danish political scientist Dr. Bjorn Lomborg is a globally recognised economist and big thinker who's turned his expertise to the coronavirus conundrum.
In Australia, the speed limit is 110 kilometers an hour. If you want to save everyone who dies in traffic, you should just take it down to 5 kilometers an hour. Nobody would die. But of course, the point is you don't want to do that because it also has huge social ramifications. We should do a lot for corona, but we shouldn't do everything. Just like we should have speed limits, but we shouldn't have speed limits down to 5 kilometers an hour.
Dr. Lomborg reckons going too hard on lockdown is a strategy that will come back to bite us in the long run. The middle ground, he believes, means opening society up and accepting more coronavirus deaths in the short term.
When you close down primary and secondary schools, when you close down jobs, are you actually creating more damage, more long-term death, more long-term unemployment and unpleasantness for the whole population compared to what you're achieving in saved lives?
I mean, we in Australia are just taking the policy decisions on the chin so far. But that's it, isn't it? How far do we go? And how do we sensitively strike that balance between saving lives and crippling the entire economy?
So I think a lot of people want to do a lot of good for the coronavirus. And so they're willing to say, look, I'm going to take it on the chin, as you say. But ask yourself this. Do you think the same people, when they finally get out from this lockdown and see the devastation of their economies, then being asked when the second wave comes around and say, I'm sorry, could you do it all over again? And then a third time. Remember, we'll have to keep open, close, open, close, open, close, all the way till we get a vaccine. And so we need to ask ourselves, how much is too much? It's not clear what that answer is, but we need to have that conversation.
In Sweden, they've taken a different approach to the rest of the developed world in tackling the nightmare of COVID-19. The streets are busy, businesses are operating, restaurants and bars are open, and primary school kids still go to classes.
We haven't shut down the whole society. If authorities would recommend that, we can make that decision. But it's even better if we can get normal people to actually act sensible and use common sense to actually have a society working long term.
Home Affairs Minister Michael Damberg is helping oversee this typically Swedish approach to the crisis. Here, social distancing is suggested, not enforced. Only the elderly and the vulnerable are in lockdown. For the rest, it's life pretty much as normal.
If we don't have a society that works, then the healthcare system cannot work. So you have to strike the right balance here. And if it doesn't work, we're ready to make new decisions.
It's a high-stakes move toward herd immunity, to slowly spread the virus through the healthy population. The country's death rate per capita is already higher than that of the US. If it all backfires, the cost in lives could be immense. One of your newspapers described the way you're doing this, your model, as playing chess against death.
I think all countries are playing chess with a new pandemic that we haven't seen before. But so far, the healthcare system copes. It is a strain. It is a very difficult situation. But so far, the system has worked in Sweden.
Whether or not the Swedish experiment continues to work remains to be seen. But political scientist Bjorn Lomborg sees it as an example of the terrible trade-off we all need to make.
If you are successful in reducing the death rate now, What you're simply doing is you're going to see a higher death rate later on. I think that is actually what the Swedish authorities are doing right now. They are accepting to have more deaths right now because it'll also mean fewer deaths in the future. And at the same time, of course, it'll mean less economic damage.
It's a very grim cost-benefit analysis, isn't it? Perhaps the ultimate one.
It is. It totally is.
Hello, I'm Sarah Abo. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.